Hi guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to JM Squared Vintage. I am very excited that I am here today with a vintage haul. Now you have seen my thrift hauls, you've seen my bins hauls, and these are mostly things that I am selling for profit on Poshmark, things that I'm selling on eBay. But what really got me started was vintage. If you don't know, I have been a vintage seller on Etsy for 10 years. I've had a business running for a long time, but really I've been a vintage flipper from like when I was 15 years old, when eBay first started. I think my first flip, I had found a Patrick Nagel signed print in the thrift store for $7, and I sold it to somebody in Japan for $1,500. And at 15, 16 years old, that was hitting the lottery. It was so much money. I was all done. That was it. I was a vintage person from that moment on. So every couple of weeks or so, I will do a vintage haul highlighting some of the kind of cool vintage pieces that I found throughout the past couple of weeks in my thrifts. Because I stock, of course, my Poshmark store, and I stock, of course, my eBay store, but I also stock my Etsy shop with those same thrifts. So we've got a little bit from the 80s, we've got a little bit from the 60s, a little bit from the 50s, a little bit from the 40s today, and we've got a special collection debut today, so stick around to see that. But before we get started, if you like vintage, if you like thrifting, if you like flipping, be sure to subscribe. Hit subscribe below. We do all of that here. We have a lot of fun. I love to hear about some of your vintage finds. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the vintage treasures. So first up here, and I'm going to show this as a 3-pack because I found them literally right next to each other on the rack. I'm assuming that they were all from the same person. And it's these awesome 80s vintage button-down shirts. So we've got this guy. We've got this one, which is like a nice, like, hot, light salmon with little crosses on it. I mean, look at the labels on these. And then this guy, little gray. This just feels so California to me. This feels very Saved by the Bell. I just think that these are so cool, and I grabbed them, and I know somebody will pick them up for an 80s party or to wear them completely non-generic, non-ironically. This one is actually made by Genera, and if any of you 90s babies out there remember, Genera is the company who made Hypercolor, those shirts that change when you put your hand on them. And if memory serves me right, I think I saw that they were re-releasing them. I always thought that they were frighteningly chemically, but you know, to each their own. So yeah, this was a cool find. And I mean, it was boom, 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 1, 2, 3 in a row. And I just literally grabbed them with one hand off the rack. Very cool. Next up, and I'll be sure to put some of these on the mannequin so you can get a little bit of a closer look. But next up here, I found this one while I was thrifting with my mom while she was out visiting. And it's this awesome 1960s kind of shift dress. It's a midi length, and this is handmade. It's made with this very cool kind of ribbed fabric, and it's got this very 70s avocado shades of olive green pattern on it. I think that this is simply adorable. It's about a size 10, I would guess, just based on the measurements. But I just think it's a really cool dress. Something that I think, like, I could see Lana Del Rey wearing this at a concert. Like, this just feels very her style. I could see that coiffed kind of 60s hair, the cool pair of sunglasses. Just a very cool find. And this one I did find in the thrift, not in the bins, but I love it. Next up, we've got this absolute confection of a dress from the 1950s. And again, I'll get this up on the mannequin so I can give you a close look. Now, this was somebody's, I can almost guarantee it, this was a courthouse wedding dress. And I want to do a clean on this. I'm not sure if this cream color is the original color or if that is yellowed. This is silk brocade. It's really high quality. But take a look at this back. It comes together in a bow, and it's got this adorable little kick pleat. I can see this. I want to get this back to pristine and get this in the hands of somebody to be their wedding dress. I think that this is the most gorgeous little thing, and I did find this in the bins. Do you believe it? I think I paid $1 for it. The tag says it's an RK, and it literally says an RK. And those were sold, I believe, at like Lord and Taylor, but you know, that kind of store. But if you look on the other side, there is a tag in here that says it is from Duval's in Kansas City, Missouri. Just absolutely positively stunning. I'd say this is about a size 2 or 4 based on the measurements. On the listing, I put the measurements, so if this is something you are interested in, you'll be able to check this against. But what a find. And let's see if I can't get this back to its original state and living a full life again. So up next here, I want to introduce, and I'm not introducing her, she's going to remain private, but I have the most incredible neighbor in the world, and her name is Nellie B. She is 85 years old. She is a practicing therapist. She is sassy. She has lived. She is everything I hope to be at 85 years old. She also happens to have the most incredible stuff I have ever seen in my life. Just going into her house and going into her closets, it is mind-boggling. So she has allowed me to start selling off some of her pieces in my Etsy shop. And we're gonna call anything that comes from Nellie part of the Nellie B Collection, because she's gonna give me the stories on pretty much everything that she gave me. And I have her first lot right here. So as you see, the box is from Buffum's, and she told me that Buffum's was a high-end department store here in the Los Angeles area, and all of the hats inside came from Buffum's. So she has things kind of kept with original packaging whenever possible. So the box alone is so cool, and it's in truly pristine condition. Everything she has been so meticulously maintained. But let's open her up and see what we've got. So these are of course hats from Nellie, and again, everything has just been perfectly maintained. So the first hat here, and I believe this is the front, is this gorgeous, it's like a fur felt. I don't know if this is beaver. I would doubt that it's beaver, but it is definitely fur. It is very soft. It's got this gorgeous little velvet bow here. There you go. This bow tie on it, and this gorgeous little drop brim, and it's in this nice rich burgundy. And if you look on the inside, it says it's a Deborah exclusive, and it's Martell, body made in West Germany. And as she said, you know, back in the day, you didn't leave the house with that hat on, so she's got lots of hats. And I just think this one is so special. I'm going to guess that this was a pretty expensive hat back in the day, because this is really gorgeous quality. So that is hat number 1 from the Nellie B Collection. And hat 2 is this gorgeous little, like, just kind of jaunty little top of the head hat in this gorgeous teal. It's a wool felt, and I just love this bow. You know, so many times I've sold 1,000 vintage hats on Etsy just from my thrifting and from my great aunts. And the one thing you usually find is that the bows are sometimes crushed or they're folded, and once it's been folded for like 40 years, it's very hard to get that crease out. And this is, I mean, it fresh out of the box. If you look on the inside here, it says doe skin felt, 100% wool. And of course, I'm not going to even attempt to stretch this because it's the original elastic, but you would just wear this underneath so it stayed right on top of your head. The next one we have, again, everything kind of in these old bags, and I will keep them in these bags as we send them out. This is a little bit more of a formal hat, and my girl Nellie does love red. So it's a similar hat to that last blue one, but it's got this tiny little fascinator veil, and it's like this dotted net. I don't know if you can. It's got this beautiful little dotted net with this, again, perfect little feather accent. Underneath here, this one says Betmar, WPL, 100% wool. And again, the original elastic strap, which we will not be tucking on because that will probably disintegrate in my hand. Again, in absolutely beautifully maintained condition with a nice little velvet, a little velvet band around it. And this one, now this one comes with a great story. She pulled it out of the bag, and it's a bag from Helps. I did not grow up in this area, so if you are a native Californian, this is probably very familiar to you. But she pulled it out and she said, well, you simply had to have a brown derby in LA because it was all about the brown derby. And she told me that this was the hat. Now Nellie has been married a few times and is a strong, fierce, independent woman because of it. But she told me that she had a pretty bad marriage, and she wore this the day that she went to the lawyer's office to liberate herself. So this little brown derby comes packed with female empowerment. If you look on the inside, it says Glenover, 100% wool. And again, meticulously maintained. And that is the first 4 pieces from the Nellie B collection. Be on the lookout for more from her. I cannot wait to bring you more of her treasures and more of her stories because she really is a completely formidable woman. And I'm really honored that she's trusting me with these pieces. And finally, we have what might be the most stunning piece I have ever found in a thrift store in my life. And that is this absolutely magnificent evening gown. This is from the 40s. And as you can see, it's made of these little strips of kind of sparkly fabric. They look like beading, but they're not beading. They kind of have that texture though. It's all connected by this webbing, and it's fully lined in this peach silk all the way down, with the exception of the sleeves, which are lined in basically like a nude illusion. This is all handwork. This is absolutely, positively stunning. It goes down to the floor. When I got this home and I opened up the zipper and I went to put it on the mannequin, the first thing I noticed was that there was a Universal Movies like scan tag on the inside, which tells me that this lived in a costume shop. And as you can see here on the edge, and I'll leave this tag on for whoever wants to buy it because I think that this is just a cool part of the history of it. You can see that the last time it was used was for the movie Trumbo, which was filmed back in 2015. You can see the date here is 2014, presumably when they were filming it. But as you can see here, it's made by Rebecca for Saks Fifth Avenue. So the original tag is still here. Everything's lined in this gorgeous peach silk gorget, or silk crepe, I guess. I could see this being worn by anybody on Halloween. I could see this being worn by like Dita Von Teese at a ball. I mean, and it's about her size. I want to say that this is roughly a size 2. This little waist is teeny tiny. Now there are a couple small condition issues. Luckily for everyone, none of them are on the front of the dress, with one tiny exception. There is a little hole in the back of the netting. It's kind of close to the ground and to the side. Looks like it might have gotten snagged on something. And then there are a couple little pinprick holes on the top of the sleeve, which if you're not really looking for it, you can't really see it. But considering that that is the only damage that has been done to this incredibly delicate, incredibly stunning dress, I'm so, so, so happy that this landed in my hands. And I'm going to be able to get this into the hands of somebody who is going to really, really showcase this beauty. So that is it, guys. That is our vintage haul for these 2 weeks. I'd say we found some pretty special pieces. I mean, that black gown, I still, just every time I look at it, it takes my breath away. It is so stunning. If there's anything here that you like, I will link my Etsy shop down below. These pieces will be there. The cream piece will be there once I do a little restoration work on it, but these pieces will be there, as well as the other vintage housewares, primarily crystal, that I've been selling for the past decade. I think that there's something just so special about finding something that is otherwise truly discarded and getting it into the hands of somebody who's going to give it a new life, who's going to cherish it the way it should be cherished. It's really been my driving force behind doing vintage sales. But yeah, if you love vintage, if you love thrifting, if you love flipping, if you love finding treasures, don't forget to hit subscribe down below. Give this video a like if you liked it. I really appreciate you staying with me through all this. I'm so excited for more vintage treasures. So without further ado, guys, have a great week. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next one.